everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
And my name's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Al, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, real good, real good. Somebody said that they always, one of our listeners said they always say hi, Mike, when you say it too.
Really?
Yeah, so we must say, like, you don't realize that you say the same thing all the time.
I know I do.
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I try to mix it up a little bit. Like today I was thinking about saying, like, what up, girl? But I didn't. So, yeah, just whatever comes to me at the time.
You dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, I sure did.
You know what I was thinking of? I was laughing with myself today that one of my patients who I was rounding on, I've kind of developed a relationship with her. And she's like, you're just so pleasant. I said, things can be deceiving. I told my 12-year-old daughter today, I just feel like punching someone in the throat. And then I told you that story. And you're like, well, who did you feel like punching in the throat? And
That's the obvious question.
You.
I was like, huh. And
like,
what did you want to punch me in the throat for? I thought things went pretty well this morning. I don't know.
You didn't put my coconut granola on the Kroger list. Therefore, it wasn't delivered. So I was super excited. And you know how when you're super excited to eat something and then you go to get it and it's not there?
No, but it does come up for you like quite often. You're such a planner that everything's kind of laid out for you for the next 3 days. And if it's one of those things are a little off, then you kind of get thrown off.
You throw me for a loop. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's like when you bring home leftovers and you can't wait to have it for lunch the next day. And then someone comes in that night and takes it from you.
And between me and then our teenage son, usually that happens to you.
Forget about it.
Yeah. Well, I did tell you that I had a couple things to talk about today.
You did, but I don't know what those things are.
No, I can't share them with you because then it'd be like, wow, we're going to like record this?
Yeah, Lord knows we're not rehearsed over here on the Crime and Coffee Couple.
No, definitely not. So here's the thing. I need you to like picture this.
Okay.
It might be hard.
Okay.
So just put yourself in this position. It's like you're coming up with a gift idea for like a mother's kind of celebration.
Oh, you mean like Mother's Day this Sunday?
Yeah. So like
AKA the day that this episode is released.
Yeah. So, and granted, today's Friday, but it's a little early to think about Mother's Day. It's 2 days away.
It's too early to think about it.
A whole 48 hours. I know.
Yeah.
So, believe me, I know where I'm coming from here. But let's say for the listeners, if you haven't gotten a Mother's Day gift, and it is Sunday today, Mother's Day here in the United States. What would you suggest listeners get there? Like, what would a mother want on Mother's Day?
Well, I already sent you an idea. About that, like skin shaver / exfoliator thing.
Folks, she is so into shaving her face these days, which is nice because then like the light doesn't come off her face and it looks like all fuzzy and stuff.
The peach fuzz. Nobody wants to see peach fuzz. So I've been using that one thing and I can never think of the name of it.
That's okay.
I told my stylist at the salon and she just immediately rattled it off.
Oh.
It's got the blade and you run it down. So I was looking at this one thing that I sent you the link for. It's like a automatic one.
It looks like a vibrating one.
Yeah.
So you could use it for a bunch of different things, it sounds like.
It's multi-purpose.
Yeah.
So one of the things on their selling point was you won't cut yourself like you do with the other tool. So I'm like, oh, I never cut myself with that tool. Well, I currently have 2 scabs across my forehead from that tool I normally use. So I sent you that idea. Otherwise, I mean, you can't go wrong with like a pretty bouquet of flowers, a candle.
I don't like buying flowers.
Lotions.
Flowers are like $100 nowadays. It's crazy. Like just the entry point. I mean, granted, you can go to Publix.
Yeah, nothing
grocery
fancy.
Store.
Like our son came home with the sunflowers a few weeks ago. He went to a sunflower patch, actually picked them himself, put them in a ball jar. I loved that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really special. Something little like that.
Okay, good.
A couple's massage.
I got that before. You didn't use it.
You didn't do a couple's massage.
for you.
I've never had a massage in my entire life.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do that sometime.
Yeah, sometime.
Speaking of, that's like, I think when we go on vacation, we're going to look into that. But I need to like crowdsource some ideas because I want to read a book while I'm on vacation, but I don't know what book to read. I suck at reading books. Like I don't like fiction at all. So I'm asking you, the listener, if you could comment or send an Instagram direct message or something, or comment on the actual post of this episode.
Do you have a preference if you want it to be fiction or not fiction? Nonfiction?
I tend to go towards nonfiction. I like financial books and self-help and business and whatever. It sounds super boring. Believe me, I get it.
If you're on YouTube, I'm making faces at Mike right now.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. Like if I tell people the kind of music I like and they're like, that's horrible. I'm like, yeah, it is. but I like it. So.
But if we go on a cruise this summer, do you really want to be reading a book about finance while you're trying to relax?
Yeah, because it's going to keep my attention. I like to learn things anytime I'm consuming anything. So like I like documentaries, and I don't love history, so I don't like autobiographies. So it's weird like that. But like the only fiction book I've ever liked in my whole life is the Da Vinci Code.
I think there's a lot of fiction books you would like. You just don't know it.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but I think it's such a small portion because it has to have some facts and some things I learn. You know, I have to like get something out of it too in order to follow the story.
Well, you get to listen to us or hear a story in your mind. I like fiction.
No. See, no, don't get yourself out of your brain and come into mine. So
maybe you've got this whole thing that's undiscovered that you love and you just don't know it.
I've tried like Dean Koontz books and I don't know, it's just kind of boring. I start thinking of other things all the time.
But when you're on a cruise, do you really want to be reading about work?
Yes, believe me, I know you don't, but I do.
Hell no.
I want to learn how to like better myself, basically.
I don't want to better myself when I'm on vacation.
Well, you can't because you're almost perfect.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Especially for Mother's Day weekend.
That's right.
So yeah, if you have some suggestions for me, if anybody,
for a book.
Yeah, I was looking at Mark Aurelius, Mark Aurelius, the philosopher of he taught like hundreds of millions or thousands of years ago about being a stoic person. So I don't know.
So anyway, I have something I want to ask of our listeners. If you want to hear a bonus episode, you don't have to be an Apple subscriber or a patron to hear this episode that we're going to do. It's just going to be a bonus for all. We were just going to do a fun episode of an Ask Us Anything. So if you have any questions that you wonder about us as a couple, as a person, as a human, shoot it our way. We'll probably end up airing the episode sometime in July. So over the next month or so, if you think of any questions you might have about us as people and you want to find out about us a little bit more, we're kind of open books on the show.
Yeah, you know a lot about us already. Like I found out a coworker was listening and I'm like, wow, she knows a lot about my life.
So shoot us a message if you care. Maybe we won't get any messages because no one gives a hoot about us.
It'll be a short episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's possible.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So send them on over. What's the best way? Probably direct message on Instagram or through Patreon. You could become a patron for free. You could just kind of log in there and then send us a message through that.
Yeah.
So, either way.
Anything else you got there, bud?
Yeah. I'll talk about it next week, though.
Okay. We'll postpone that. Yeah. So are you ready to jump into this one?
Yep.
All right. So this is the murder of Dana Satterfield. So it was 1995, and Dana Satterfield was a 27-year-old mother of two who owned a successful hair salon. She was found brutally murdered in her Roebuck, South Carolina salon. The case actually went cold for 10 years until, unbeknownst to her daughter, she was actually the person that inadvertently helped solve her own mother's murder.
Well, unbeknownst to her.
Yes, she had no idea what she was doing on the day that she did it. Actually went on to help solve this case.
Ooh, intriguing.
So Dana was born in Spartanburg, South Carolina on November 16th, 1967. She was a very kind and friendly person who was known to be quick to assist others. She easily made friends. Everyone commented on how beautiful she is or was, how like her smile would just truly light up a room. Beyond just her beauty, which she was beautiful, she was a good person. She was also a dedicated, hardworking woman. During her time in high school, Dana met a boy and she ended up marrying him. She gave birth to a baby girl named Ashley shortly after they graduated high school. After the birth of her daughter, the relationship quickly crumbled and they ended up divorcing. Dana went on to marry Paul Michael Satterfield, otherwise known as Mike, and the couple had a son named Brandon. So now Dana is the mother of two, a daughter named Ashley and a son named Brandon. Mike owned and operated an air conditioning and heating company. While her children were young, Dana wanted her focus to, stay on them and just stay home and raise them. So she would do that and then pick up odd jobs here and there just to increase their income. As her children grew up, they're starting school, getting more independent themselves. That's when she started to think about her own dreams and goals and decided to pursue her dream of opening her own salon. And she did go on to do this in Roebuck, South Carolina. Dana was an exceptionally hard worker. She worked typically Monday through Friday. She would be at the salon from 8 a.m. and stay as late as 9 and 10 p.m.
Wow.
And oftentimes she wouldn't necessarily mean to do that, but she'd get calls from friends and customers. Hey, can you squeeze me in? And lo and behold, she'd be at the shop really late.
Saw the opportunity for some cash. Like, yep, come on in.
Yep, good businesswoman. So, again, she was very, very goal oriented, and she was willing to do whatever she could to make her salon a success. So Dana designed the salon. It was actually inside an old mobile trailer. She had the help from her husband, Mike. He was a handy guy. He supported his wife in fulfilling her dream fully. And as part of the process of redoing the trailer to turn it into her salon, Mike installed a hot water heater for the salon. This was actually his specialty, so he was just the guy to do it. However, after 7 years of marriage, Mike and Dana started to separate and pursue divorce. Right around the time that Dana was brutally murdered, she was actually going to be meeting with a divorce lawyer. They just weren't on the same page in life. Nothing big happened. They didn't have a hateful relationship. It was amicable. I just don't think they were on the same page in life anymore.
Drifted apart.
Exactly. They say you're going to grow. You're either going to do it together or apart.
Yeah. And so obviously that puts a gigantic target on Mike.
Right. Of course. So on Monday, July 31st, 1995, there was a customer at the shop. This is Patty Taylor. She arrived right around 6:30 for her appointment. And just about this exact same time, a traveling salesperson from Charlotte, this is Diane Harris, she popped into the salon to sell Dana cleaning products. So Dana kind of listened to her spiel really quickly, and she did go on to purchase a bottle of cleaning product from Diane. And then Diane headed out. She continued on to other area businesses by foot. She was basically kind of doing a door-to-door sales thing. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, Dana began working on Patty's hair. Right around 7 p.m. is when she started. She finished at about 8. She told Patty that she had some clothes in the dryer, and Patty offered to stay with her until she locked up. And keep in mind, too, this is probably a smaller town. Everybody knows each other. So when she's telling Patty, oh, yeah, I still have some things to do here, Patty's worried. It's dark outside. Do you want me to stay and keep you company?
Nice.
And Dana said, no, I'm just going to be shortly behind you. The clothes basically have 5 more minutes to dry, and I'm out of here. So Patty left the salon sometime between 8:10 and 8:15 p.m. So now Diane Harris, who is the traveling saleswoman, she again had been going door to door to sell her products. She came back through the parking lot at about 8:10 p.m., which is basically exactly when Patty would have been leaving. So she saw Dana through the window of the salon. She waved at her and then continued on to go sell additional products. So 20 minutes later, it was about 8:30 p.m., and Diane headed back to the location of Dana's salon. She was going to wait for her ride. So it sounds like they all drove together and hit area businesses. Mm-hmm. So they were going to meet up and pick Diane up at that spot. So she's just standing there with her supplies waiting. So she noticed that the lights were still on in the salon, but the blinds had been lowered, so she couldn't see. So as Diana's standing out front, she's waiting on the sidewalk. The sun is now setting. Day is turning to night. And she starts hearing thumping sounds coming from inside the salon. So she's, hearing it and wondering what it is she's hearing. So she starts to look around. And this is when she was very surprised to see that a young man wearing jeans and a gray shirt came bounding out of the window of the trailer, not the front door, like a window, not a big window either. So this was obviously very strange. So Diane was startled. She began to run, not knowing what was happening, what she was seeing. So she left her cleaning products behind, just sitting on the sidewalk. She ran around the building in one direction, and it turned out the man ran around in the other direction. So now they're coming face to face on the backside of the building.
Whoops.
So Diane quickly ran to the street and she began to yell. She raced to a nearby house where she locked herself inside. It sounds like she kind of just maybe busted into this person's house. She's calling out to the residents of this home to call 911, screaming that someone needed help. So the woman in this house calls 911. She has no idea what's going on. She reports it as a robbery, is what she told the dispatcher. So when Spartanburg County Sheriff's Deputy J.T. Burnett received a call, he was reported that it was a breaking and entering. So he's coming to the salon right around, so he gets the call at 8:45, 8:50. He responded to the Roebuck Beauty and Tanning Salon on Highway 221 right before 9 p.m. was when he arrived. And again, he thinks he's walking into a possible burglary. So he noticed that the lights to the salon were off, the window was open, and the screen had been pushed out. Now, keep in mind, Diane did see a person jump out of this window. So the screen was lying on the ground, and the only door to the building, which was at the front, was left slightly ajar. So as he gained entry into the salon, he announced his presence, not knowing what he was walking into. Is the burglar still in the building? So the officer immediately noted the salon's state of disarray. As he made his way to the back of the building, he made the horrifying discovery in the combined bathroom/laundry room. Dana's body was hanging from a strap around her neck that was connected to a hot water heater. Her feet were suspended about an inch off the ground. Her face and her hair were covered in blood. She had multiple cuts and bruises over her body, and her tongue was protruding from her mouth. Ugh. So this detective, again, thinks he's walking into a robbery. All of a sudden, now it's a homicide case. Yeah. So he called in homicide detectives who were immediately dispatched to the scene. They noted that Dana wore a blood-soaked white T-shirt. She was naked from the waist down.
Ugh.
Her pants were still attached to her left ankle. Her head was said to be dramatically cocked to the side. As detectives ruled out a robbery gone wrong immediately almost because no cash or merchandise had been taken, Dana's purse was sitting there in plain view. Her credit cards were untouched. Between the money that was in her purse as well as the salon's cash box, there was about $200. None of it was touched. Detectives concluded that the crime had been sexually motivated. Fingerprints and hair samples were collected from the crime scene. Based on evidence, it really looked like whoever had done this was not a very experienced criminal. It just seemed very sloppy. It seemed chaotic. It didn't seem well thought out.
Not somebody that has a lot of murders on the resume.
Yeah. Okay. I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, it's something they look at.
Yep.
So the scene revealed that all of the blood was contained to the area where Dana's body was found. And again, this was a combined laundry/bathroom. And when I say bathroom, obviously we're looking at a trailer here. This isn't a massive salon. This is a shared space that customers would be utilizing as well. So the room showed evidence of a struggle. Dana's autopsy noted a deep abrasion to her forehead as well as superficial bruises and abrasions throughout her body. Her hyoid bone, was fractured. That's often hyoid bone is what's in your neck, and when you're strangled, that's oftentimes what they do. That's what they're going to look at to see if that was fractured. In some cases, we did a story where that hadn't been fractured, but they said that if it was in a case where somebody was subdued already with medication, and in that case, it wouldn't take a lot of pressure to choke somebody. So not in every case of strangulation will you see that bone fractured.
Maybe if they really tense up, then it fractures.
Maybe. But in this case, Dana's bone was broken. So they did see that considerable force had been applied to Dana's neck. This could have been happened by manual strangulation, as well as the fact that we know that the police officer found Dana with a bag strap around her neck, and she was actually suspended from the floor. So they think that whoever did this to Dana both did manual strangulation as well as the strap of the bag.
And you said she was, an inch off the floor or a couple inches off? Like, I would think that wasn't the murder, the reason for the murder. I would think he probably killed her beforehand, or at least, she passed out, so she couldn't, recover.
So they think that she was probably strangled in both manners.
Yeah.
Her brain also showed extensive hemorrhaging caused by blunt force trauma. The violence of the attack made investigators believe that this was very personal. It was like a crime of passion. So Diane worked with a sketch artist since she was the only witness to have seen the killer.
Yeah, face to face.
Right. And obviously when she saw this person, it was already dark outside. They're kind of bumping into each other in a frantic way at the back of the trailer. I don't think the lighting was very good. She was obviously panicked at the time. So when she initially started talking about the person she saw, she described him as white and looked crazy. The man was between 20 and 30, small in stature with light-colored hair. Once completed, the composite sketch drawing was released to the media within hours of Dana's murder, so very quickly.
Nice.
In the meantime, the scene was processed. Like I said, they were taking fingerprints, hair samples, body fluids. These are all being sent to the lab for analysis.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'm sure you're going to say what's going on with the family.
So police work with also profilers. They worked with various different profilers to try to figure out what type of person would have done such a thing.
Has to be like a husband of one of the people that came in, one of her customers that probably saw her and thought she was beautiful or something, or really got along with her. And it was obviously just crazy.
So, they're working with various profilers, not telling them anything but the straight facts. They're telling all of them, and they all kind of came up with a very similar conclusion of who they thought, like what type of person would have done this.
Yeah.
So they theorized that her killer would likely separate himself from the community after Dana's murder to avoid being detected, since there was a composite sketch out there. He would likely be a very demeaning, controlling, and manipulative person, physically abusive toward women. He would likely be in a relationship with a more submissive person. They also believe that the killer likely knew Dana and could have been even infatuated with her.
Yeah. It's like an abusive narcissist, basically, who is going to stop at nothing to get what they want and doesn't care how people feel or what anything like that.
Only care what they want. So detectives started by speaking with Dana's ex-husband, of course, Mike, because we all know that they're in the process of looking into divorce. He told investigators that he and Dana were separated. They were living apart, though they had spent the previous night of July 30th together. They were with their children at home. They ate dinner, watched TV as a family. The next day, Mike and Dana scrambled to get out the door for work. They did make plans to have dinner together that night. Of course, Dana did not come home because she had been attacked at the salon. Mike learned that something was wrong when a fellow church member called him at about 9 p.m. to say, hey, something's going down at Dana's salon. It's loaded with police officers. So he, of course, jumps in his car. He gets to the salon, and deputies would not allow him inside. They really, at that point in time, wouldn't even give him any information as to what was going on.
Yeah, because it's an active murder scene.
Yeah. I mean, it all happened very quickly because the officer first arrived at about 9. Mike's getting the call right around 9 because, again, this is a smaller town. Everybody knows each other. So when they spoke with Mike, they wondered if he was maybe downplaying the nature of their separation from Dana. He was questioned. They were questioning themselves. Is he the guy that had done this?
Of course, everybody's thinking that.
Could he have hired someone? Because obviously they did get a description from Diane. She saw the person that jumped out the window.
Yeah. Does he know anybody like this? Does anybody he know somebody like this?
And of course, he's insisting that he would never do anything to harm Dana.
Sure. Whether he's guilty or not.
Right. When investigators informed Mike, ultimately, I don't know when this actually happened, but his fingerprint was on the water heater, and this was next to Dana's body.
Because he installed it.
Right. So Mike explained that. He's like, I am the person that installed this water heater literally 2 months earlier.
This is my wife. I'm here like all the time. I mean, we are getting separated, but I'm always here.
Yes.
You're going to find my fingerprints everywhere.
And that's what he said. He's like, I'm also the maintenance guy at the salon. My fingerprints will be found everywhere. So Mike was a very large statured man. Police could easily see that he would not have been the guy to have jumped out that side window of the salon.
So I picture like a 300-pound dude.
Yes,
basically
he
a big dude.
Okay. He is. He's a big dude.
So they're like, and he was probably like, I mean, look at me and look at that window.
No.
Like, this isn't happening.
And Diane described the person as being younger, being smaller statured. That certainly wasn't Mike that jumped out of that window. That was very easy to see.
Right.
So he bore no resemblance whatsoever to the man that Diane had come to face with outside. Mike had an alibi for the night of the murder. At the time that Dana would have been attacked, he was about 15 miles away. He was on his way to get his children from a friend. He also passed the polygraph test. He was very quickly removed from the list of suspects.
Good.
So investigators found a single bloody fingerprint in the restroom that didn't belong to Mike. When the fingerprint was entered into the South Carolina database, no matches were found. This meant that the killer hadn't had a previous record.
Right.
They also put in a semen sample. This also found no source. So about 2 weeks following the murder, a man named Ken Smith, who was a customer of Dana's, came forward to inform detectives that he had driven by the salon at about 8:40 p.m. on the night of Dana's murder. He saw a man loitering outside at this point. The lights were off inside, but Dana's car was out front. Ken explained that he felt unsettled after he made eye contact with the person that was loitering outside the salon. The guy gave him an angry stare, the stink eye. He just felt very unsettled by what he saw.
Especially after the fact, knowing what happened.
Right. And he said that this man was standing beside a white Ford Bronco that had blue trim. So then other witnesses came forward to attest that they had also seen a white Ford Bronco with blue trim driving up and down the streets in the hours before the salon closed. It almost gave off the appearance that this person was trying to like case the area and see what was going on. And again, it's the same kind of car that this other person had described.
Man, they've got a lot of leads here. This is like crazy that you're saying that it's mostly unsolved for a little while here. Like
it's
a white Ford Bronco. They got somebody that was face to face with this person.
Yes,
they're probably a member of the community. Like it's this guy's here somewhere.
Yep. So the fact, like you said, that they've got this specific car. I mean, the white Bronco with the blue trim. It's not something you see every day.
Right.
However, nobody had gotten a really good look at the driver's face of this car.
They don't need to. Diane kind of saw him, right? I mean, I know it was dark.
So authorities offered a $50,000 reward in hopes that this would lead to an arrest.
Well, I mean, look up every white Ford Bronco in the area. I'm sure there's a couple hundred.
You'll see what happens. So as the tips poured in, investigators believed that they were getting very little helpful information to help solve the case. So early on, one caller who chose to remain anonymous advised and encouraged detectives to please look into 17-year-old Jonathan Vick. So again, Diane said the guy was young, maybe in his 20s to 30s, but again, it's dark, it's frantic. So this is a 17-year-old. So detectives sat down with Jonathan and his mother, what does he drive?
White Ford Bronco?
Yes. With what kind of trim?
Blue trim.
Yes, sir. He sure does.
Is his mom a customer?
I'm not entirely sure if she ended up being a customer.
Okay.
So Jonathan adamantly denied any knowledge of Dana's murder, let alone involvement. Authorities attempted to get a court order to obtain his DNA, but the request was denied because driving a car near the crime scene was considered to be insufficient proof that he had every right to be driving around that area, and just because he was doesn't mean that he was a suspect.
Did he have a lot of money, like a good lawyer?
No, I don't think so.
Interesting. Okay.
So again, they've got this 17-year-old. He drives the same car that many people saw right around the time that Dana was murdered.
Yeah, I mean, I get where they're coming from. Was he a customer of Dana's?
Yes, he has had his hair cut.
Okay, I mean, if I'm a judge and I see he was a customer, he was around there like a lot, and he doesn't have an alibi probably, then you have to look at privacy too. But at the same time, it's like you're trying to solve this. This dude is here somewhere, most likely. Like, I don't know. Like, as a judge, you'd think you'd give that.
So they couldn't get his DNA. So his mother, of course, is vouching for his innocence, and authorities had no choice but to let him go. There was nothing else they could do. The case soon grew cold until 2 years went by, and a prisoner notified authorities that his cellmate, who was Russell Quinn, who was serving time for raping a woman and hanging her from a tree limb, had also bragged about being the one to have murdered Dana. So in addition to that, he was very obsessed with Dana. He actually carried her photo around with him wherever he went.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Total weirdo. So Diane Harris was asked to view a photo lineup of potential suspects, and Russell Quinn is peppered in there. And lo and behold, she selects him as the man that she had seen fleeing from the salon. But, very quickly, of course, investigators are super excited at this point. They think we got our guy.
Yeah.
So they go on to get his DNA, and it comes back. He's not a match. Right. So you can't lie with science. He's not the guy. He's just deranged and likes to brag about horrible things that he had nothing to do with.
And obviously they couldn't ask Diane to look at this Jonathan Vick guy, right?
Apparently not. No, he was never.
Because he was never arrested.
No,
or
he was never arrested. They couldn't. They were denied being able to take his DNA. He was literally let go.
Man, like I wonder if somebody from the community could have been like, "Hey, look at this guy. Does this look like him?" You know.
So I know, and here's the thing: is I saw the sketch, the composite sketch, and he looks a lot like Jonathan Vick. Thick head of hair.
Awesome.
So now we're back to square one, and the case went cold for another nearly a decade. Because, of course, this all happened in 1995. So now we're moving on to 2005. This is 10 years after Dana's murder. And Dana's daughter, Ashley, remember I said she inadvertently helped solve this crime. She had no idea that this simple thing she was doing, this mundane task, and that we all have to do. She's 18 years old at this time. She's taking her Honda into a local shop for repairs.
This is 10 years after.
10 years later. So she was 8 years old at the time that her mother was murdered.
Okay.
So she's taking her car in, and while she's waiting for her car to be serviced, she just happened to start up a conversation with a mechanic. His name is Michael Pace. So they're just chatting. It's a very innocent conversation. This innocent conversation went on to blow the lid off of her mother's murder investigation. So after Ashley left the shop, one of Michael's coworkers mentioned to Michael that Ashley was the daughter of the woman who had been found murdered in her salon 10 years earlier. This was when Michael made the decision to place an anonymous call. He informed an on-duty officer that he knew who was responsible for the death of Dana Satterfield. He added that he had made the call because he wanted to help the Satterfield family find peace after he talked to Ashley.
Because he probably felt a connection with her.
Yes, he did.
A human connection, and was like, oh my God, I just talked to this girl and I have this information in my head.
Yes. So Michael went on to say that his childhood friend, Jonathan Vick, was responsible for Dana's murder. This was the 17-year-old that police had spoken with and quickly cleared. Michael explained that he had been with Vick on the afternoon of Dana's murder. It was Monday, July 31st, 1995. Vick was wearing blue jeans and a light-colored shirt, exactly what the person who had popped out of that window was wearing. So when I say Vick was bragging about the fact that he was going to have a date with Dana later that night. Michael was aware of Dana, who a lot of people were aware of. She's this beautiful 27-year-old salon owner. And he's laughing at the very idea that she would ever have any interest in a 17-year-old kid. And him laughing at Vick angered him. And he insisted that he believed that he had a chance with Dana. So Michael recalled the raunchy remarks that Vick was making about Dana, detailing exactly what he was going to do with her when they were on their date. Michael talked to Vick for about an hour that evening. He agreed to give him a ride home. During their drive, Vick continued to go on and on about his intentions with Dana. Michael dropped him off at around 6:45, 7 p.m., and when he did drop him off, Vick is telling Michael that he's going to go get a haircut. And he's like, dude, it's almost 7 o'clock at night. Where are you going? Like, what salon is opened at 7? And he said, well, Dana keeps her salon open late and she's going to be expecting me. And then the very same evening, she is brutally murdered.
Yeah.
So Michael did not see Vick until a few days later, and they're at a pool hall together, and Vick aggressively bumped against him and threatened to kill him if he told anyone about the conversation that they had, that the fact that he was going to go and see Dana that night, and Dana ends up being murdered. So he's threatening him. So it was 3 months later that Michael is the one that made that anonymous phone call urging detectives to go speak with Vick, and they did.
Right.
So he was the one that called back in 1995.
Just didn't want to put his own skin in the game because he was probably afraid because he knows what this guy's capable of.
Yes, he thinks like this guy 100% murdered this woman, and he's telling me I will kill you. He believes him, and he should.
Yeah.
So, he's expecting something to happen, that Vick is going to get arrested. Nothing happens. So he contacted law enforcement a second time after the murder is featured on TV. He sees it. He's like, you know what? Vick is still out there.
And
I'm
I know
calling
he did
again.
it.
I know he did it.
Yeah.
Calls a second time. He stayed anonymous that time as well. He called a third time, stayed anonymous as well.
That's the problem, is that they need somebody to put behind this. They need
I know.
The judge needs to see this guy say, he told me this.
Yes.
That's when you get access to his DNA.
I know, but he was legitimately scared, and
I get it.
I certainly don't blame him at all.
Ugh.
So as detectives are speaking with Michael on the phone, they urge them to tell them his name. He adamantly refused. He explained that in the hours after Dana's murder, Vic threatened to kill him if he ever breathed a word of what he knew to anyone. Michael now knew that his friend was very clearly capable of murder and believed that his threats were very real. So Michael confessed that he had been the anonymous caller from years and years earlier.
Okay, so he gave his name this time, obviously.
So still not yet.
Okay, well, we're like current day or whatever, after he met Ashley.
Yeah, so he's still having this conversation. He's like, I'm the original guy from back in 1995. He said this, I did my due diligence. I called 3 times. Nothing came of it. So I believed that I was satisfied with the effort I put forward. What else could I do? So current investigators who are speaking to him over the phone are asking him, what prompted you to come forward 10 years later? He explained that meeting and speaking with Ashley had been the turning point. He never really followed the news when Dana had been murdered. He had no idea that she was actually a mother. So now he's meeting this 18-year-old that was only 8 years old when her mother was so brutally taken away. He connected with her. He felt like such a sense that he needed to do something.
You feel this is a real story.
Yes.
This isn't something I just heard about and it's gone.
He said had he known that she had had small children, he would have gone to police a lot sooner.
Yeah.
He was a teenager.
Yeah,
Teenagers aren't sitting there watching the news.
Right.
I can tell you that because we have a teenager. So authorities explained to Michael that he could not remain anonymous. He would have to provide his name to a judge if there was any chance in obtaining a court order for Vic's DNA.
Right. They're like, dude, the same thing's going to happen.
Yes.
You see what happens before you gave us no information. Well, none of your information. You need to stand behind this. You got to put this guy away.
Right. And keep in mind, this was a 17-year-old boy. He was scared.
I know.
So Michael finally agreed. He felt that he could help find justice better late than never. Yes, 10 years had passed, that this scumbag was allowed free on the streets, but he's going to get him justice now. So by this point in time, Jonathan Vick was a married father of a young daughter and proclaimed his innocence as he was served the warrant for his DNA sample because he knows he's done for.
Yeah.
So as he awaited the results, detectives spoke with Vic's friends and acquaintances trying to get an idea of what kind of guy are we dealing with here? What kind of person is this? So people very clearly painted a picture of the type of guy that he was, and it was not a pretty picture. So a girl who was dating Vic at the time of Dana's murder recalled that he often drove by Dana's salon after the murder. He would tell this girl he was dating, if you don't do the things I'm telling you to do, you're going to end up just like the woman who was murdered in this salon.
Wow.
I mean, that's the kind of guy. So she said that he had a violent temper that could erupt without any prompting whatsoever.
I mean, at this point, let's assume he wasn't the person that did that to Dana. And anybody saying that to somebody else, like, you're going to end up dead. Like,
right. Who says that?
A psychopath. And it just so happens he did do it.
Mm-hmm. And we do know that the profiler said it would be a very demeaning, domineering, physically aggressive person. They were spot on with that.
Wow.
So after graduating high school, Vic went on to join the U.S. Marine Corps, and during his 2-year run, he was frequently in trouble. He easily lashed out at those around him. Upon his discharge, he floated from job to job. He was often fired because of his quick temper. On top of everything that investigators were learning, they also discovered that a woman that Vic had been engaged to 7 years after Dana's murder, this is 20-year-old Heather Sellers, went out with Vic on the night of September 24th, 2002, and was never seen again.
Whoa.
I promise you, he killed this girl. I promise you.
See, that was what I was thinking when, you said Michael came forward 10 years later. I'm like, hopefully he didn't hurt anybody else. Everybody listening is thinking the same thing. So
he's last seen with her. She disappears. They find her car located at the bottom of a river. So Heather had finished her shift at Waffle House in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and later that evening, Vic picked her up at her aunt's house for an unplanned date. He recalled that they had spent several hours at various local bars, and then he said he simply dropped her off. Her family always suspected that Heather had met with foul play because she was not the type of girl that would have vanished and not let her family know. And then you find her car at the bottom of a river.
Yeah.
So absolutely, she was met with foul play. So blood and strands of hair were later found in a vehicle that had been leased to Vic, but they could not be positively matched to Heather. Detectives learned that Heather had told her family that Vic had been physically abusive toward her, but she never reported him because she was terrified of this guy.
That's the problem.
Yes, of course. You know, you don't know what they're capable of.
Yeah, you can't blame them. And then you're like, I mean, you could say, think about somebody else, but it's like, I'm worried about myself. I got to survive.
I need to survive.
Yeah.
So after she called off their engagement, tensions only heightened between Vic and Heather. Despite the nature of their relationship, Heather and Vic did continue to see each other on a friendly basis after the breakup. Vic fully admitted to being with Heather on the night of her disappearance, but due to insufficient evidence and the fact that her body had never been found, he was never charged. More than 20 years have gone by since Heather disappeared. Her whereabouts are still unknown. The case remains unsolved to this day. Isn't that just unbelievably sad?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable, but at the same time, very believable.
Yeah, true.
Unfortunately.
So when DNA results now came back for Dana's case, it did prove that Jonathan Vick was a match to the sample that was taken from Dana's rape kit.
Perfect.
At a ratio of 900 million to 1. Authorities were finally able to charge Dana's killer with kidnapping, sexual assault, and first-degree murder. So the trial began in November of 2006, and Vic's defense attorney argued that a stray pubic hair had been found on Dana's body that did not belong to his client. He pointed out that no test had the ability to determine when the semen made contact with Dana's body. So he's basically saying that, yeah, my client's DNA was found on her body, but it could have been there from a week before. We don't know.
Consensual visit.
Yes. So he's urging the jury to keep an open mind and insisted that this information alone was sufficient to introduce reasonable doubt into the minds of the jurors. So the jury heard testimony from multiple customers who visited the salon on the day of the murder. They all had been in and out of the restroom multiple times. This is where Dana's body was found. So yeah, she could have had a stray pubic hair on her that didn't belong to her or Vic. That doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. So another witness, this is Michael Crook, he was driving by the salon at the time of the murder. He said he saw a white man crouched behind nearby bushes looking at the salon. Another witness testified that he saw a blue and white Ford Bronco with custom rims, which was identical to what Vic was driving at the time, parked at a business across the street on the evening of the murder. Another witness named Aaron Popkin actually went on to buy this Bronco from the Vick family, and this was in 1996, a year after Dana's murder. So he took the car for a test drive, and he was chatting with Vic during that time, and he said that Vic was very suspicious of him and wondered out loud if he was a police person. So definitely shifty and nervous.
Yeah, I'd be like, why would you think that?
Thinking he's driving the car like for, evidence purposes.
Right.
So the events of what happened on the night that Dana was murdered were pieced together as best as possible. So this is what they theorized happened. It was speculated that Vic visited the salon that night with the intention of making romantic advances toward Dana. And if you could recall his conversation with Michael, he was very cocky and confident that, oh yeah, I definitely have a chance with her. Again, this is a 27-year-old woman that's going to be meeting with a divorce lawyer. She's a businesswoman. She's a mother of 2. Yeah, she's going to be interested in a high school student.
Yeah, she's got things going on.
So clearly, she likely immediately, turned down his advances, and this would have made him very angry. So he sees that she's alone, and when she rejected his unwanted advances, this is when he turned the lights off and proceeded to beat Dana into submission. He raped her and strangled her to death. It's unclear why he chose to flee through the salon window rather than the front door, because the front door was found ajar. He could have easily walked out of it. And again, this is a trailer. This is a small space. Him jumping out of that side window is really what prompted Diane to believe that it was a burglary.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you're just walking out, I'd be like, oh, somebody leaving.
Yeah. Had he calmly walked out the front door of the salon, she would have likely just gotten into her car and gone back to where she lived. So we'll never know that.
Weird.
So the trial lasted for 4 days. 32 witnesses were called, including Vic's childhood friend, Michael Pace, who is the one that had made the multiple anonymous calls. In early December, the jury deliberated for 20 minutes. And what's your guess in terms of what they came back with?
Guilty.
Yes.
100%. Not even a question.
Exactly. So he was found guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life in prison for Dana's murder, plus 30 years for criminal sexual misconduct and kidnapping for having held his victim against her will. He will be eligible for parole after 20 years.
What the hell, man?
Life in prison plus 30 years, eligible for parole in 20 years.
You think like in the South, like South Carolina, right? That you'd be pretty safe from like stuff like that when it's so obvious that this guy murdered somebody.
Yeah.
In like a rage, like it was, probably pre-planned and everything. That's how is that possible?
I don't know. So he was not eligible for the death penalty because he was a juvenile at the time. He was 17 years old.
That's probably why.
So during the sentencing, Vic's wife, Carolyn, pleaded with the judge prior to sentencing and asked for the minimum sentence since they have a young daughter at home, and added, I know he didn't do this. I know he didn't.
Carolyn, he did do it.
He did do it.
And he had to have no problem murdering you, and he killed Heather, too.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm sure they
Consider
couldn't.
this like a good thing.
Yeah, but also I'm sure they couldn't bring that up in this trial because it had nothing to do with it. But,
Two totally separate things.
Yeah.
So as the then 28-year-old Vic was led from the courtroom in tears, he denied having anything to do with Dana's murder and added, she did not get justice today. She will not as long as I sit behind bars.
Shut up, you loser.
Shut your friggin' face.
Yeah, get in jail. And I'm so sorry to Vic's daughter. Like, I'm sorry she had to be
her fault.
brought into this world by this monster.
It's
but
not
it
his
sucks.
wife's fault either.
No.
So as Mike Satterfield, Dana's widower, hugged their children, he took Vic's denial with a grain of salt since the evidence clearly pointed directly at him. And he really felt it's possible that this guy is so deranged in his sick mind, he might believe that he's truly innocent. Like,
sure.
you dissociate yourself so much.
Yeah, like that wasn't me. No.
Yeah.
I'm a winner. I win at everything. I'm great. I'm awesome at anything I do, and I get whatever I want.
It's possible. So Mike was relieved that they were able to get justice. He realizes, of course, that life will never be the same without Dana. Ashley was 20 years old at this time. This is Dana's daughter. She was grateful that Vic would no longer be out there on the streets and able to hurt anyone else.
Amen.
And she didn't care. He could go on and continue to lie to himself. We all know the truth.
Yeah, nobody cares about
Nobody
him.
cares. So at the courthouse, present there was Vic Sargent from the Marine Corps. He indicated that during his time of service, Vic had assaulted both male and female Marines. So he was an equal opportunist when it came to his violence.
I mean, people that men that seek out females are just lowest of the low.
Totally. So he was punished twice during his time for assaults. He eventually received a general discharge. He referred to Vic as a pathological liar with a violent temper. He often secured dates with female Marines through flattery. So he would turn on a charm, and then once you would get to know him, his behavior would change on a dime.
That's everything you hear about narcissists.
Totally.
They're so charming. They know what people want to hear,
Yep.
so that people like them for a little bit. Then they find out the real person. They're like, all right, peace. I don't need you in my life.
They will fool a person so well. I mean, they should go on to be actors because they would get, an Academy Award.
Right.
So one female actually came to him and described him as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, two totally separate people. The family members of Vic's former fiance, this is Heather Sellers, who disappeared in 2002, they were also present at this trial. So Vic immediately requested a new trial on the grounds that his counsel had been ineffective. This was dismissed. In April of 2006, while Vic was incarcerated and awaiting trial, so this trial started in November, this happened in April, he was accused of assaulting a corrections officer. He was convicted of this. 3 years were added to his sentence.
What a loser.
As part of his punishment, he was only allowed out of his cell for 1 hour a day for 6 months. Vic is currently incarcerated at Ridgeland Correctional Institution in Ridgeland, South Carolina. He will be eligible for parole in 2035 when he's about 57 years old.
Yeah, and by then I'm sure he'll have another couple things that he did wrong in jail, so
Hopefully.
he'll stay there forever.
So Dana's daughter, Ashley, who is now a married mother of 2, she is actually employed as a victim advocate for the Spartanburg County Detention Center because at age 8, she was forced to witness her own mother's body being removed on a stretcher from the salon.
Forced to witness it?
Well, she was there.
Oh,
She
okay.
saw it.
Okay.
So bad form of wording on my part. I apologize for that.
I was picturing an 8-year-old like,
No,
you got to watch this.
No, not that.
Okay.
She witnessed
Happened
her
to-
mother's body coming from the scene of the crime on a stretcher.
That's hard.
She understands the pain of what it feels like to lose a loved one to violence. The ache of losing her mom will never go away, but helping other victims has allowed Ashley to heal.
That's a great way to funnel it. You know, she's been through it and she's older now and she can help other littles like hopefully process it.
Right, because she was little when it happened and now she's the mother of children.
And it's not like she's saying, you know, I read this in a book, like it actually happened to her.
She lived through this.
Yep.
So Dana may have been a stunningly beautiful woman, but she was most remembered for her kindness and her sweet disposition to those that she brought plenty of joy to around her. And that is the sad and tragic murder of Dana Satterfield. And it's just really sad because obviously they really had Vic. If you look at his picture compared to the sketch, it's very similar. You know,
That's enough to the judge, man. He had that white Bronco everybody saw everywhere. The lady's sketch looks just like him. Like, that's enough. Like, this judge just needs to be questioned. I don't understand where that came from.
It was very quick. Like, I don't even think they really compared him to the sketch.
Wouldn't that be the first thing you would do?
They were like, because of the call and because people had come forward saying they saw the Bronco, they're like, yeah, he lives in this town. He drives a Bronco. It's not illegal to drive down the street. It is an invasion of his privacy to take his DNA. That was what was said. That was the end of it.
But doesn't he look like the sketch that was brought up?
That was my point, because I watched the special on Oxygen about it. And I was like, shoot, he looks like this guy.
Oh, gosh, that's a miss. And obviously, his friend at the time, Michael, wish he would have came forward earlier, but at least he came forward.
Right.
So,
and I will
good.
reinforce the fact that the kid was 17 years old and he was scared.
Probably didn't hang out with great people either because he hung out with this guy.
Yeah, they had known each other. You know how it is when you go to school together, you're just kind of in each other's company.
Yeah, you just happen to know each other.
You just happen to know each other. Yeah. So I'm just glad that it could have been, had Ashley not gone into that dealership to have her car serviced, we wouldn't be talking about this case. This would be an unsolved cold case.
Right. And somebody out there had it. That's why it's so important to tell these stories in case somebody hears it, Right. Something like this, like, I really need to come forward. Yeah.
And that's what prompted Michael to call the second time he saw Dana's case on TV. And the whole idea is it's just a good thing we got justice. Sadly, Heather lost her life in 2002 because of this guy.
Yeah. Well, thank you for telling our story. And if you like the way we present stories, please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or just subscribe to us on your podcast platform. And if you got a little extra scratch in your pocket, you can come on over to Apple subscriptions or Patreon and support us with some of that money. And we appreciate it.
We do appreciate it so much.
You get yourself extra bonus episodes.
$4 extra a month, depending on what tier you are on Patreon. Apple subscribers get them all.
Yep. We want to say welcome to the Crime and Coffee Couple Club to Izzy, Easton Weston, and Holly. So welcome, everybody, and all those new Apple Podcast subscribers. If you want us to shout you out, we don't have your names because Apple keeps them away from us, but you can send us a message on Instagram.
And then reminder, if you have any questions you might want to know about us, we're doing an Ask Us Anything episode sometime in July is what I'm guessing. So shoot us a message and we'll read it.
Yes, please do.
And until next time, bye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.